Be honest with yourself for a second. You're working every single day, right? Every single day you're working, but the business is not evolving the way you need it to. That's not a hustle problem. That's a structural problem. And today we're going to find exactly where the breakdown is. I'm Tanya D. Harrison, and today on Leveraging Operations and Leadership, we're discussing making one of the most important decisions you will make as a business owner, and that is knowing when it is time to invest in yourself and your business. So let's go ahead and get into it. There was a season in my life where everything changed, and not all at once. First, I was fostering 3 brilliant, brave souls in my home for 2 years. So let me just put that in perspective, in context. My kids are grown, full grown, in their 30s. So when I decided to embark upon this journey, if you will, I was coming out of parenting retirement. It was a lot. So, and if you know anything about what that requires, you know it has everything of you, your time, your attention, your emotional capacity, all of it. And then after that, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, which I've talked about before on my podcast. And that's something that directly impacted how I could show up for my family and for my business. And what became extremely clear is the way I had been running my business was not built for the life I was actually living and wanted to live. I could not keep operating like my time and energy were unlimited, because they're not. And that season forced me to get honest about something most business owners don't stop to ask themselves. And that is, what do I actually want my life and business to look like? Not what I thought I was supposed to be building, because that's what I was doing. Not what looked impressive from the outside, but what actually fit the life I was living and want to live, and the leader that I needed to become. And once I got clear on that, every investment decision from that day forward has been a filter. It has served as a filter. And if you know me, you know I like filters. Does this move me closer to the business I actually want to design? Yes or no? And that's really what this episode is about. So when we're thinking about investing, we start with the vision. But I'm not talking about just in 3 years, I want to make $1 million and that's it. I'm talking about getting up close and personal. You cannot make a good investment decision without knowing what you're actually building towards. And I'm talking about the details of that. And most business owners make investments decisions reactively. I did. Something sounds good. It fills a gap that you've been feeling. And then you say yes or no based on how the bank account is feeling that day. That's not a strategy. It's a gamble. And here's the question I want you to sit with before we go any further. What do you want your life and business to actually look like? Not in a vision board kind of way. I'm talking about in a real operational day-to-day kind of way. How many hours do you want to be working each week? What do you want your role in the business to look like in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? What does your income need to support not just a business, but your actual life? What does a good day look like and feel like? What does a sustainable week look like and feel like? And when you can answer those questions, investment decisions stop feeling emotional and they start to feel more logical, because now every opportunity has a filter. Does this move me closer to that picture or further away? And that's clarity. That clarity is the foundation. Everything else we talk about today sits on top of that foundation. I've come up with 4 signs, and this is me going through this myself, right? Because like everybody else, I had the vision. In 3 years, I want to do this. I want to make this. But I realized that I hadn't gotten to the details of how I wanted my week to look, how I wanted my day to look, how I wanted to feel. What does that look like? I didn't go to that level of detail. And after doing that, I realized there were signs, right? There's signs to this. So the 4 signs that you are ready to invest, here's the ones that I came up with. And these signs apply to any investment, a program, a tool, a coach, a team, a course. They are a pattern that your business shows when it's ready for something more. Sign number 1 is you want to stay on the cutting edge of your industry. The business landscape is not standing still. What worked even 2 years ago may not be what positions you as to go to in your space today. So if you've decided that you want to be that go-to person, that expert, upskilling is not a luxury. Not if you want to stay competitive. It's actually a requirement. If you find yourself watching what others in your industry are doing and feeling like you're falling behind, that's a clear sign. And it's not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that your business is ready for you to level up. The investment in that case is not optional. It is the cost of staying relevant and leading from the front of your industry instead of chasing from behind. Ask yourself, is there a skill, a framework, or a level of expertise that would position me differently in my industry if I had it right now? Sign number 2, there are critical functions in your business that are underdeveloped. Every business has functions that are non-negotiables. Delivery, client experience, operations, finance, marketing, all of those are non-negotiables. We all have them in our business. If any of those functions are weak, inconsistent, or entirely dependent on you doing them manually every single time, that's a gap that will eventually cost you. The sign here is not that things are broken. The sign is that things are fragile. They work because you're working them. And the moment you slow down, the moment life changes like they did for me, that's when you really start to see these things show up. Investing in building those critical functions into real systems is not overhead. It is protection for everything you have already built. A question here you want to ask yourself is, which function in my business would collapse or lose quality if I were unavailable for a week or two? And that's the function that you want to start investing in first. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And you may have some, like I had some operational systems and all of the stuff in place, but there were other areas in my business that I needed to tighten up. So I had to decide what was the first area for me to invest in. Sign number 3, you have identified resources that will move you to the next level. And this one is pretty specific. It's not about wanting to grow in a general sense. It's about having done enough research to know that a particular program, a tool, a coach, a support system exists, and it addresses exactly what is holding you back right now. So it's not all of the things, it's a specific thing. And when you reach that point where you've done the research, you know something exists, you know this is something that's going to move you forward, this is not the place that you want to hesitate. Hesitation is not wisdom. It's really fear dressed up in practicality. If you have identified the resource, you understand what it does, and it aligns with the vision you have for your business, the remaining question is not whether to invest. It is whether the timing is right and whether you are ready to do the work. So you have to decide, have I already identified the resource that would move me forward? And am I hesitating because of genuine misalignment? or is it because of fear? And we don't want to let fear stop us. The fourth sign is you're drowning. This is the most urgent sign that most business owners wait too long to act. Drowning does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a calendar that never has any white space, or a to-do list that continuously rolls over. A business that cannot slow down because you are the only thing keeping it moving, that's a sign. And when you are at capacity and the capacity is not expanding, something has to change. Waiting until you have more time, more money, more energy to invest is the exact thing that keeps you drowning. The investment is often what creates the capacity for you to breathe. So you want to really ask yourself, am I operating from a place of sustainable capacity, or am I surviving week to week and calling it running a business? Because it doesn't have to look that way. If what you're living looks nothing like what you design, that gap is a sign. It's time for you to start investing in these specific things. And I want to be honest with you about something before we close out. Waiting is also a decision. And like every decision, it has its consequences. When you keep waiting to invest in your business, here's what you're actually choosing. You are choosing to keep solving the same problems with the same tools that created them. You're choosing to stay behind the curve in your industry while others who invested move forward. You're choosing to delay the version of your business that you already know you need to build. None of that makes you a bad business owner. It basically makes you human, because investing, it does feel risky, and waiting feels safe. And if you have invested before and it didn't go well, that could be giving you pause as well. But here's what I've seen over and over again. The business owners who invest in the right support at the right time do not just get information. They gain momentum. They build something that starts to work for them instead of requiring them to work it constantly. The ones who keep waiting, they keep working just as hard. They just stay stuck at the same ceiling. You already know what you want your life and business to look like. You have been sitting with that picture. The question is not whether you're ready. The question is whether you are willing to make the decision that moves you forward. All right, that is it. I hope that this episode bless you the way me coming to a deeper understanding of what I wanted my business and my life to look like helped and blessed me. Just remember this: make your vision detailed. It's not just about how much money you want to make. I want you to think about what you want your day-to-day life to look like and feel like in your business. How often you want to show up, how many hours you want to work, all of the things that we talked about in this episode. And then also, if today's episode gave you clarity about where you are and what your business needs next, here is your next step. I have a free Leadership Shift Readiness assessment, and it's 12 questions, and it tells you exactly where you are, and it gives you insight and specific direction about what you should focus on next based on your answers. I'm going to drop the link below and you can go ahead, find it, fill it out. It's a free assessment. You're going to get feedback, like I said, on those next steps, but you're going to understand more about where you are, specifically from a leadership and operational perspective. I will see you in the next episode.